Years ago, my family went on vacation in Cape Cod, and we rented a small house to stay in for 2 weeks. On the main floor was the kitchen, the living room, and a bathroom. The bedrooms were on the second floor. There was a basement room downstairs with a washer and dryer, a sofa, and a television. On the first night, we were all awakened by a terrible scream from my sister's bedroom. When my dad burst into her room and turned on the light, he found her sitting up in bed, screaming and crying. My parents sat with her and comforted her until she finally calmed down enough to tell them what had scared her. She said that she had been awakened in the middle of the night by a horrible stench. When she opened her eyes, she'd seen the entire bedroom soaked in blood from top to bottom. There was blood all over the floor, bloody handprints on the walls, and blood spatters all over the ceiling. We all thought she'd just been having a nightmare, but she refused to go back into her bedroom and stayed in our parents' room for the remainder of the holiday. One evening, my mother was cooking dinner in the kitchen upstairs, and my father had gone out on an errand in a nearby town. My sister and I were in the basement room watching TV when all of a sudden the light bulb popped and the TV went off, leaving us in complete darkness. The basement was unfinished and had old stone walls, making it a bit of a creepy place. For a few seconds we just froze, not knowing what to do. Then we started to smell something horrible. It was a terrible stench, and when it hit our noses we felt nauseous. It smelled like rotting flesh. The smell grew worse and worse, and then we just heard a scratching in the darkness. Something seemed to be scratching at the floor or the walls. We screamed and began scrambling around in the pitch black, trying to find the door. Eventually, we managed to open the door and ran upstairs screaming to our mother. We kept telling her about the disgusting smell, and we heard something scratching and scraping down there. My mother eventually agreed to go down to the basement, replace the bulb, and check out the source of the horrible smell. She took a flashlight and a new bulb and disappeared into the darkened basement as we waited for her at the top of the stairs. We expected her to return quickly, but she seemed to be down there for an eternity. Suddenly, we saw her emerge out of the darkness and come running up the stairs. She slammed the basement door behind her and bolted it as fast as she could. She turned to us and we could see her face completely drained of color. Her eyes were wide with fear and she just said, "I don't want you going down there again." Then she went into the kitchen and called the police. We overheard her conversation on the phone and managed to figure out that she'd seen someone down in the basement room. As we waited for the police to come, we huddled together in the living room, staring at the basement door. At any moment, we expected to hear someone banging on it or trying to break it down. My mother refused to tell us what she had seen. When the police arrived, my mom greeted them at the front door and ushered them inside. She unbolted the basement door and they went down into the darkness with their flashlights out and their guns drawn. They searched the entire basement room but found nothing. There was no other way out of the basement, no windows, no doors. Whatever was down there would have had to have come up through the basement door. After the police left, my mother finally revealed what she'd seen down there in the pitch black basement room. As she spoke, she became very still and quiet. She said that she had been changing the light bulb downstairs when she began to smell the horrible stench that we had described to her. Then she started to hear a faint scratching noise. She shone her flashlight around the room and suddenly caught sight of something crouching between the washer and dryer. It was a man, crouched on all fours. His clothes were tattered, his hair was wild and tangled, and his face didn't look human. It was twisted in an expression of pure hatred. In that split second, he looked up at my mother, his eyes reflecting the beam from her flashlight. Then he suddenly crawled forward and disappeared through a wall. When my mother saw him simply vanish into thin air, she dropped the flashlight and ran. After that, none of us would go down in the basement. We kept the door locked and bolted. Every night, we slept in our parents' room and locked that door too. We cut our holiday short a few days later and just drove home. But the scratching followed us. I honestly don't know where to even start with this, but I guess it really began when I was just a little kid. Whenever you think of the word childhood, you can imagine the fun times, and you're absolutely so damn lucky to have that. My childhood was a living nightmare. My entire childhood was dominated by what can only be described as the living image of the devil itself. You see, I was diagnosed with hypnagogia, a disorder that causes severe hallucinations that occur when one attempts to sleep, or at least that's what I was told. I never believed any of their bullshit. I had reason to, of course. Every night I went to sleep, this creature showed up at my bedroom window. It was a thin-like creature with unnaturally long arms. Its legs curved back like those of a dog, its skin bleach white. Its eyes just two gaping holes filled with an endless darkness. It would place its bony fingers against the window and peer into my bedroom, just staring at me. Every time it happened, I froze. I couldn't move or scream. I was told it was just one of my hallucinations, but how could a hallucination leave fog prints on a window? After months of therapy and experimenting with different kinds of medications, the hallucinations stopped. Flash forward 17 years later, I'm a 22-year-old man out in the real world. I lived by myself in a modest little house that I worked hard for. I was happy with my life. I don't understand why things had to turn out this way. I was sitting on my couch watching TV when I looked at my phone. 12:07. Shit, I thought to myself. I have to work tomorrow. I turned off the TV and made my way to my bedroom. With my jeans and t-shirt still on, I threw myself on my bed. I was too tired to change. I closed my eyes and automatically felt something was wrong. It felt like I was being watched. I looked up at the window and felt my heart drop. It was him. That same damn thing that tortured me as a kid. It looked exactly the same as it did then. Same bleached white skin, same two gaping holes for eyes, and bony visage. I felt myself freeze up. It was like that the entire night. I was too scared to move. Eventually the sun rose, and the creature backed away from the window and crawled away. I remember passing out after it left. This continued to repeat over a span of 4 weeks. I didn't understand why any of this was happening. It would watch me the entire night, and I'd pass out in the morning from exhaustion. I lost my job after my boss got tired of me not showing up. I tried boarding up the windows, but upon my return, they would be removed, no matter how many times I tried. On one occasion, I even fell asleep on the couch and woke up in my bedroom with the thing at my window, of course. There's no running from it. I had no idea how bad things were about to get. On one of the nights, the thing crawled up to my window, and instead of placing its hands against it, it put them at the bottom of the window. I wasn't sure what it was trying to do until I heard the loud screaming of the window being pulled up. That damn thing was trying to get into my room. He didn't open it all the way, just a little, every night. With every night being opened just a little more than the night before. That was 2 weeks ago. Last night, he opened it almost all the way, but not quite. He needs it opened all the way to get in, and I know what's going to happen tonight. That's why I'm sitting here, on my bed, typing this. The sun's starting to go down. It's going to be night soon. I'm tired of fighting this. It's weird, knowing with every key I type that it's going to be one of my last. I know now, it's not a hallucination. I've always known. Why they lied to me, I don't understand, but I have to go now. I can hear him approaching my window. Unimaginable pain is all the Crackling Man knows. All that I know. These suburbs are new to me, but I've only just moved here. I know that I will have to leave this place after the first few disappearances. People will start to get suspicious. I shift in my spot inside the hedge. I see a man ahead on the street. He walks in the light of the street lamps, a swagger in his steps. I envy his physique, his frame, my twisted, broken frame hunched and mottled, only able to shamble and stagger. It's late. Midnight, maybe? Time doesn't matter anymore. The streets are empty, save for him. He stares down at his phone, oblivious to his surroundings. Good. It's better if they can't see me coming. I don't do well in chases. I shamble toward him, crackling loudly as I go. He has headphones in. He won't hear my crackling until it's too late. Crackle, crackle, crackle. I'm only a few steps behind him now, moving quick. I can see him in more detail, the slight bob of his head to whatever music he is listening to. I can make out a string of words on the back of his shirt. Brooksdale High School, it said. He goes to the local high school then. He notices me all too late. He turns, his face a mixture of terror and shock. He tries to run, to flee, but my twisted, broken arms grab him. I clutch his neck, and I twist him. His broken, lifeless body falls to the ground, but I'm not done yet. I lift him up and snap him, breaking him, twisting him. When I finish, he is a mangled, broken corpse on the ground, and I stagger, breathing heavily over him. I pick up his body, heaving it over my uneven shoulders. I can't be wasteful. I still need to eat, after all. And I crackle my way back into the woods with my prize. A shame I couldn't catch any more. But besides, I'll always be back.
You are never safe. Not at home. Not on vacation. Not on your turf. There is always something lurking in the dark.